Another COVID wave, the sixth if you're keeping count, is washing over the country.
Now, the COVID-19 pandemic is not over.
Another big rise in COVID cases.
Will move away from legal restrictions and allow people to make their own informed decisions about how to manage the virus.
Most of us in the UK know someone who has COVID right now. Infection numbers are some of the highest of the pandemic, and that's causing disruption.
One, two, three, four.
Tommy used to work on the dock. Union's been on strike. He's down on his luck. It's time. It's time.
My team has recently seen people come up short and he's been struggling with the wind all day, as we saw, and just overcooked that, I think, trying to be too cautious.
Huge break with his second shot that he sprayed right and it didn't get wet.
Well, good morning everybody, welcome to another Sunday morning show. Slightly different one this week, as you can see. COVID has hit both Leicester and myself. I gotta say, for the last month I've been really struggling. You see, a couple of weeks ago I was not in on the Sunday morning show, but it's the best I've felt. I don't get it. I'm still testing positive, but it's actually the best I've felt. So I thought today we would catch up with some of your questions. Now, this show kind of started out as answering some questions, and we've kind of gone off on a tangent over the last couple of years, but I thought today I would go through some of your questions that you've asked over a period of time, and see if we can answer them for you. Don't care what they are, I'm going to answer them today. Getting out in the fresh air, keeping away from people, but for those of you that watch this channel, you'll know that my wedges, I'm not happy with them. So this year is a big year for me. I want to just dial these wedges in. I've got a few little moves that I've been thinking about recently. So I've kind of come up here, I've put myself on the furthest point of the practice ground away from everybody, and just going to try and dial in these wedges for today. Now, first question. Now, this one has come out a few times, and it's asking me, you know, maybe parents that are getting their kids into golf, things like that. When did golf start for me? Well, it started for me when I was 9 years old. Well, actually, it started before that. I think it was about, I want to say like 1986, 1987. I was watching the Open Championship in the lounge with my dad at home, and we were watching Jack Nicklaus play. I can't remember, it was a long time ago and I can't remember. So I was only probably about 6 or 7 years old at the time. And following on from that, obviously Dad thought I'd taken a bit of a shine to it. So instead of going out and buying a set of golf clubs for, you know, the plastic clubs probably didn't even exist back then. So we went down into the garage, and he actually made me like 2 or 3 clubs out of wood. And my golf bag, and I remember this so well, my golf bag was an old scallop bag. If you know anything about fishing, trawlers, scalloping was obviously something that my dad did. He was a fisherman. We had these scallop bags, and it was a big sort of netted bag, and he put some rope twine around it, and and I would wander around the garden with these wooden clubs in, like literally wooden clubs, nails, wood together. And that was kind of like my first experience of golf. Now that obviously didn't take off, and maybe I did that for maybe an afternoon after watching the golf with Dad, but he was trying to get into it at that point. But 9 years old, for my birthday, on my 9th birthday, I got my first set of golf clubs, and we became members of Churston Golf Club. This practice facility didn't exist back then, but this is kind of where I spent majority, Paul probably more so than me, but this is where I spent majority of my days growing up, coming up here, playing a few holes on the golf course, coming up to the practice ground. And kind of moving on from that, and another question that kind of comes on from that is that, you know, Dan, if I was going to go and practice something, what would I practice? Now, I remember I was off about 8 or 9 handicap at the time, and I was really playing some good golf, but I wasn't getting my handicap down. I thought I could really start to make a move, certainly that summer, if I remember. And I was at the practice ground here, and I was just banging balls up this 350 yard range. It's a fantastic facility. And the pro at the time was a chap called Neil Holman, who, lovely guy. He was the head pro at the club, and he was a very good golfer himself. So he had obviously seen me just banging balls, but he was, you know, he came over to me and he said to me, Dan, if you want to get any better at this game, will you please start working on your wedge game? And so that summer, that's what I did. I came up here, I didn't bring anything else other than wedges. And I would hit pitching wedge, sand wedge, lob wedge, whatever I had, and I'd hit these shots from 110 right the way down to sort of 50, 40 yard pitches. And pretty much that year, I went down from about a 9 handicap down to 5 pretty quickly. So if there is any kind of advice to anybody wanting to get their handicap down, and certainly if you want to get into single figures, or even below that, and it's kind of category 1, then wedge play. Don't come up here banging range balls of drivers and long irons. You know, get those wedges dialed in. You know, if you get yourself into trouble, you've only got 100 yards into the hole if you pitch out, or, you know, get yourself into a position where you can put those wedges certainly on the green.
Best 5-wood other than the RBZ. There isn't one. I think the closest best 5-wood that's come to the RBZ, or that I nearly put in the bag, was a Ping, old Persimmon Ping 5-wood, which actually went as far as a 7-wood, and I was honestly thinking about putting that in the bag in case, well, as a backup, not a backup, but to replace a 7-wood. So, but there hasn't been another 5-wood. There's only one 5-wood. There's only one 5-wood that you should be looking for. That is the RBZ 5-wood, the one I use. When and where is the next trip abroad, and will you take Gilly? Well, Chris is a head professional at a golf club. So when we go away, and don't get me wrong, Chris will be coming away with us because, you know, he loves being on the channel. What he loves the most is when people come down to Newquay and say hi to him. I think, you know, he loves all that. And then obviously you got to buy something from him. But, you know, Chris is a head pro of a golf club. He is a busy man. He's got 2 young kids. So for me to be able to sort of pull him away from his business and his family for 4 or 5 days is hard. That's why it's hard to get a lot of these guys to come away and film with us. But some of them do, and Chris definitely will be coming on a trip. But the next trip will be France. We've got another one booked in to go to France. So that one will be our next trip, which should be fun. What is the best course? Now this is a question that I get asked literally all the time. What's the best golf course? What's the best course I've ever played? Turnberry. I would say Turnberry is the best I've ever played. When I walked off of Trump Aberdeen, I walked off there going, wow, that is amazing. That is the best links golf course I've ever played. But then I went over to Turnberry, literally the same trip, and I walked off of Turnberry and I was like, that's the best golf course I've ever played. Best place I've ever been to play golf? Pebble Beach. I mean, the place is just spectacular, and people do sort of say that the golf course isn't the best, but I had a fantastic time there. But Turnberry is still probably my favourite golf course. Best set of irons under £500. I mean, this is hard now, isn't it? Like to find a set of irons for under £500. I think if I had a £500 budget, what would I be doing? I mean, I've got to say, I'd probably go second-hand. I'd probably go and find a good second-hand set of irons. That's, you know, I'd have my mindset on, you know, it's like going out and buying a car, isn't it? You know, if you want your top car, well, you might not have the budget to be able to go and buy your top car brand new. So what do? You go second-hand. You don't go for a different brand or a different type of car. You go for the car that you want, but you go second-hand. Channel ambitions. Now, I figured we'd walk and talk about channel ambitions. Like, how did I come around to starting out a YouTube channel? And it goes back to, and some of you may have heard this before, but it goes back to the fact that I didn't want to write a newsletter. So I made my own video. I made a video like this. I was trying to give golf tips, and I thought I would do my own YouTube video. I didn't even know where to put it. So I was learning as I went, really, with it. And that's how I started out switching a camera on, basically. And it was Lester that said to me, he said, you know what, you want to put your videos out on Facebook. Put them out on Facebook. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I just want to do it for the members, you know. Well, I put it out on Facebook. Well, he put it out on Facebook, I think. And I had a phone call from Mark Crossfield. Now, Mark, I knew he was into making videos, but we hadn't seen each other for many years. We didn't really know each other that well, to be fair. But Mark called me and said, Dan, do you want to come and do some filming? I didn't really know what he was talking about, really, but he said, come up to the Manor in Bath, and he said, why don't we do some filming, you know, come up and get involved. And anyway, so I went up there, met up with Rory, Matt, and Mark, and did some filming and loved it. Absolutely loved it. And that's kind of how the journey of YouTube and the journey of switching cameras on and making videos, that's where it started, basically. Obviously, I'm hugely thankful for Mark for getting us going and kind of showing me the ropes on how it all worked and whatnot. He used, obviously, Talkie for a lot of his filming, which kind of, you know, we helped each other out a little bit there. So it was all good, really. I decided, obviously, to go on my own just over 2 years ago now. Going on my own. Kind of come to a crossroads with Mark. He wanted to go up to Honiton and do his work up there, so it was a natural break, really. And the thing, I get this next question a lot, which is, you know, when are you going to do some filming with Mark and Matt again? Well, you know, those guys are busy guys. We haven't spoken pretty much since the last time I did a video with them, which is a shame. You know, they're both nice lads. But they're busy doing what they do. I'm busy doing what I am doing. And people have asked us to play another game. Well, you know, one day maybe. One day we'll get out there and have another game. But for now, we've got lots of other things to do. And yeah, I don't see it happening soon. It would have to come down to the guys wanting to do it, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think it's kind of on their radar that they want to do any more filming with what we've done. So, you know, that's fine, that's no dramas, and, you know, we move on. But we move on to bigger and better things, because ultimately, if you're wondering where I'm walking, this is actually a Christmas tree farm that just literally a stone's throw over by my house. And so if you want to come and get your Christmas trees, Malden Christmas Tree Farm, it's pretty full on. Oh, I've picked mine out for next year, right there, look at that beauty. I do have big ambitions for this channel. Now, it's not necessarily just about the channel. I set up a business to run alongside my pro shop business, which was my DHG Media. And ultimately, I've kind of moved this into a media
business. It's ultimately what I want to do. Obviously YouTube is a big thing and I enjoy doing it and love doing it. However, I want to go to another level with it, and that's why for a lot of you that have asked, you know, people ask me all the time, you know, what sort of money do you earn, Dan, and all this sort of stuff. How can you pay for these guys from just YouTube? Well, because we don't just do YouTube. We've got other things going on, and I brought Johnny into the business a few months ago because we had some projects coming up where I needed a professional editor. I needed someone who looked at it not necessarily from a golfing point of view, but from a professional point of view, had studied it and could teach us along the way as well. And that's what we did. We brought Johnny in, and we now make videos for companies. You know, that's ultimately always been my kind of ambition with this, was not just about YouTube, because we don't know where YouTube goes, we don't know where social media goes. So the business is moving upwards, and those are my ambitions. What's my ambitions with YouTube? To carry on what we're doing, to keep growing it, to keep entertaining you guys, to keep educating you guys with different types of products, with different types of techniques. Those are my ambitions, and to get the channel to grow. And if the channel doesn't grow, that's fine. I'm entertaining, we're doing things that we love, and my other side of my world, my other business element, that will just keep growing, and I know it will, because we're ambitious and we want to move it forward. And yeah, so ambitions to keep growing, to keep getting bigger, not necessarily just from the YouTube side of things, but from the business element. God, I do feel extremely lucky where I live. I mean, we've got over the other side over there, you've got obviously the English Riviera, you've got Tall Bay, which is just stunning. But here, I mean, where I live around here, where you've got Bowls Club, like just, oh, I could get myself into bowls, I think, as I get a little bit older. Quiet time. So a couple of other questions kind of to finish off this Sunday morning show, but my dream 4-ball is Louis Oosthuizen, my dad, and probably Greg Norman. But let's talk about the Masters this weekend, because kind of when it was leading up, I just kind of had this thing that it was all about Tiger. It wasn't really about the Masters, it was all about Tiger's comeback, and there was a part of me that was kind of switching off from it. However, since watching it this week, and I filmed this on Saturday, so the guys are just about to start teeing off again on the Saturday now, it's been amazing to follow him and watch him play around the golf course. Obviously going through what he's been through is obviously really hard, and to see him come back in the Masters and do as well as he's done, make the cut, and hopefully press on over the weekend, it'd be fantastic to see. But one of the questions that I've seen here is why do people always overlook possibly Koepka when it comes to majors when he's done so well? And you're absolutely right, he's not someone necessarily that gets talked about a great deal, certainly in the UK, but in the US I know they talk about him a lot, and they're obviously extremely proud of what he's achieved in the US. And I don't know, he's a power unit. I mean, he's such a great player, and you know, cut his teeth over here on the Challenge Tour, European Tour, and then went back to the States, and obviously has performed so well. But the Masters has been, I think, a great event. The wind has really picked up for them. It's been a fantastic to watch it unfold, because you don't get to see perfect shots all the time. They've had to work the golf ball, which is absolutely brilliant for viewing. Who do I think is going to win? Well, at this moment in time, Scotty Scheffler is, and I spoke about him last week on the show, and I was like, you know, world number one, how has he got to that position? But the facts are, he's come into the Masters as world number one. The pressure must have been high, you know, for him as world number one. He must have been feeling the pressure, but he's handled it so well. He's going into Saturday's round at 8 under par, leading the way. Very, very impressive. But moving on the channel this week is Langland Bay. Now, Langland Bay is, well, they call it Pebble Beach of Wales. It's absolutely spectacular. And I've got to say, the views are breathtaking, so you will have an enjoyable week of watching that next week. I've watched the first part that Jordan put together, and it's fun. The boys, we have a good crack. It's a good fun golf course to play, so hopefully you'll enjoy that one. Sadly, the boys are heading up to the first bus tour that we're putting together. We missed out on the first bus tour, which was down at Trevose, but this one's going to be at Ashburnham and Parla Kemvic. Myself and Lester can't go because of COVID, but my brother Paul and Jordan are stepping up to the mark and will be hosting this one, and I'm sure they will look after everybody on the trip. So if you are on the trip, I hope you have a fantastic time, and I will see you on the next trip. But that pretty much wraps up our Sunday morning show. Thank you obviously for watching. You got some of those questions answered, and we'll see you all again next week when we haven't got COVID.